Obviously, not to repeat yesterday, but I was very, very excited coming off the field, and then after getting a chance last night to watch the film and reviewing that with our staff today and have an opportunity to make some adjustments to our depth charts, I just thought a lot of positives that came out of yesterday. Number one thing, obviously, we stayed pretty healthy. Got some guys nicked and dinged up, but nobody that's gets significant time. And in addition to that, Tevin Mitchell got clearance, so he has been removed from his green jersey, and he'll be in full participation this week. And next Saturday, he'll return to live competition. Something we didn't even really think about. We mentioned it before the scrimmage, but after the scrimmage, that was the first time Demetrius Wilson had been cleared and was involved in full contact, and we kept Trey Flowers out of everything last spring that was full and live, so those guys kind of resumed right where they had left off. We did make a couple modifications. We'll actually one position change. Grady Ollison will move from offensive line to defensive line. We're going to switch him into the 3 technique. Obviously, it was a kid that was recruited here as a D lineman. They switched him over to O-line before we were here. Just with the development of some of our younger guys and new players coming in, we felt that and Grady kind of just wanted a fresh breath of air, and moving him over to the 3 technique and see what he can do there. So excited about that. Again, just there's so many things that happen away from the field that I'm so impressed with our guys, and you see it carry over. Our guys are just learning the game and understanding what we're asking to do so much better, I think, because of the hog and knees, but just also a maturity to them that is really nice to be around. We got our summer grades in on Thursday, I believe it was, of last week, and we had 260 total grades. To put things in perspective, 260 total grades of football players taking summer classes. 92 were A's and 89 were B's, so we had over 180 A's and B's out of 260 classes, which, from where we were at, I remember the first time I did a grade report in January when I got here, or February, that first we had more C's, D's, and F's than we had any A's or B's, and we've completely flipped that to the other side, and I'm a huge believer. Jonathan Williams, 4.0, I know he tweeted it the other day, those weren't pottery classes. Those were legit big-time classes that he attacked on a daily basis, and his confidence level, maturity. Keon Hatcher, again, 2 really difficult classes, came out of there with all A's. Just all around us, a lot of positive things. So it's an exciting time to be in the program. I'm excited to get into week 2, and I think week 2 will be a lot better than week 1, although I was very impressed and very excited about the progress we made. So with that, open it up. A couple injury updates, really nothing of yet. Jay Will might be out a couple days. He's nothing significant with the hamstring. I mentioned Tevin Mitchell. Mitch Lavin will also get more engaged in practice this week. Alex Collins is cleared for practice tomorrow, so he'll be back out there. Santos Ramirez will be a little bit. Bijan Jackson got cleared. He'll be in practice tomorrow. Those freshmen, we're excited to see what they can do, and have adjusted the reps of our 2s, so they'll get more work this week.
The guys have talked about how much they feel like they have to prove this season, but how much do you feel like you have to prove in your second season here?
I don't really have anything to prove. I think I just go through life trying to have success today better than yesterday. I took this challenge just as an internal thing. Obviously, a lot of reasons went into it, but I wanted to try something that hadn't been done. And in this world, there aren't a lot of those things left. So the challenge of winning an SEC championship is something that I think about daily. But as far as proving anything, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about that.
Depth chart adjustments besides Grady's move, or
yeah,
depth chart
absolutely. Yeah, I can just go around by position, I guess. Offensive line wise, really happy with the play of Sharp and Da and Smothers. Both of them probably played their best football since we've been here, without a doubt. But behind them, Cameron Jefferson has done some nice things. Tritola played extremely well, and I think Denver Kirkland is playing better because of that. Denver slimmed down and is doing some good things. So nothing that's going to change on the depth chart, but we are going to get those guys more reps and maybe work them in with the 1s. We may float the idea of popping Cameron out and working a little bit at left tackle as well, just to find out what he can do out on the outside perimeter as well. I guess the big thing was we moved Brian Wallace to number 2 right tackle, which would obviously, with the departure of Grady Ollison over to defense. I think in the offensive line, 2 freshmen that'll play for us will probably be Ragnow and maybe Wallace. We're definitely moving down that line. At tight end, nothing changes. AJ was a little banged up. I'm sure you guys probably could see that a little little bit yesterday. He injured himself on Friday. He sucked it up and went yesterday. Had X-rays this morning just because he swelled up a little bit in the knee, but everything was negative. So he just got a bruise that should allow him. That's going to get us a lot of work now with Sprinkle and Volsky. So offensive line, tight end, running back. Just the way the depth chart reads, we're kind of just Jay Will, Corliss Marshall, Alex Collins. We call them 1A, 1B, 1C. Obviously, Alex didn't get to go yesterday, but all three of those guys will touch the football in a special way. At fullback, Tyler Colquitt had been doing a nice job, but he was concussed, so he didn't get a chance to go. We thought Cody did some nice things, but we're really still searching for that fullback. We really I'm going to try a couple guys there this week. I'll keep that in-house until we know for sure what we're doing. Wide receiver, we figured Drew Morgan and Keon Hatcher are going to nail down the one position. Z, X will be Demetrius Wilson, Cody Hollister, and we're going to work they call him Moss, my wide receiver from Miami. Kendrick Edwards we'll work him at the number 3 X, and then we're going to really try to just let Jared Cornelius concentrate at the slot receiver in our 11 package. And I think we just kind of overwhelmed him a little bit. He's very, very sure-handed, and he had a couple drops. I just worried we're putting too much on him. So really at the wide receiver position, you're looking at Kendrick Edwards, JoJo Robinson, and Jared Cornelius, 3 freshmen that we figure might play. At the quarterback position, it is what it is. It's BA. I think Austin had his best scrimmage since we've been here as well. I really like I said yesterday, I just want his voice to become more real in the huddle. And Rafe had a nice day. All 3 of those guys played very, very well. On defense, we're going to look at moving Tywan Johnson to number 1 nose and let him play that tilt nose and see exactly what he can get done there. We'll move Hodge and let him play a little 3 technique defensive tackle behind Phylon. Phylon's playing extremely well. We'll also now let Bijan, since he's cleared, get a lot of reps with the 2s at nose, and then or Cordell Boyd as well there, and then Grady will work at the 3 technique. At defensive end, Dietrich Wise has had a great camp, really good week of practice behind him. We're going to continue to bring along Jamichael Winston. B. Lou, I just feel bad for Brandon. He's got a bad wheel and had aspirated yesterday. They took out a lot of fluid, so he's kind of limited here a little bit. We may switch him from N to R. Of course, Trey is at R, but Tevin Beaton's been a nice excitement. At linebacker, no changes except for we're going to move Dante Carr into a tie with Braylon Mitchell. Let him kind of do it, but that's done twofold for obviously Dante did some good things, but we want to get Randy Ramsey as many reps as we can because we think he's a guy that could play for us. At Mike linebacker, we'll move Kalia Hackett in there, work with the 3s. Otherwise, it'll be Otha and Brooks Ellis. Brooks is number 1, obviously, and it will really like Martrell Spate, but we're going to see what Dwayne Eugene, number 35, a freshman, can do for us. I think all 3 linebackers, all 3 freshman linebackers will figure playing for us, as well as Bijan Jackson. Up front, on the corners, Tevin Mitchell getting cleared. We'll put him back up at the number 1 spot. I moved Andre Tolliver into a tie with Jared Collins. We had too many deep balls. Jared was responsible or on the field for a couple of them. Over at the number on the other side, we'll have Carol Washington, who's playing really well. Move DJ Dean up to the number 2 spot. Will's got to come along in a hurry here, so I'm excited to see the challenge, see if he responds to it. At strong safety, Alan Turner is just doing lights out, but Sleepy is playing really well behind him. Sleepy will work with our nickel package as well at that spot, and then at free safety. Rohan's playing really well, but he's getting pushed hard by DeAndre Coley. Sleepy, we've played in that spot a little bit, and as well as Josh Lydell. So that's a rundown. Yes?
Can you talk about Demetrius Wilson, the injury last year, him battling back from that, and is he 100%? How much of an impact can he make, all that?
Yeah, well, I think it's a year of redemption for Demetrius. I think he is a guy that, last year at this time was looking at his senior year, was looking at all the dreams and things that you have going into your senior year, and he obviously tore his knee up in fall camp and had it kind of just literally your senior year, kind of like Kiro Small the year before I got here. He was preparing for his senior year, and all of a sudden it's taken away from him, but thank goodness they have a senior year with a red shirt. So he's been awesome. He's got up, like I said a couple times, up to 200 pounds during the summer, put in a lot of really good work. I think changed a lot of the things that were going on in his life away from the game that have been a step in the right direction, and he's the senior voice voice in that room. He works extremely hard. He's catching the ball really, really well. We're going to only let him go on one-a-days. He won't do double-day practices just because his knees had a full recovery, but we just don't want it to become an issue. So, and he's doing extremely well in the classroom as well. I did. I don't know if I did. I didn't mean to. Yeah, Josh will continue. He's working at Mike and is doing some really good things. We're going to put him on the lighter version of the salad bar. We're trying to take about 5 to 10 off of him, and I think that'll help him. I think at Hutch and at Dillard, they didn't have all the power bars and energy bars and all the good stuff to eat, so he's put on a little bit of weight since he's been here, and we need to trim him up to play a little Mike.
When you put together all the things it takes to compete at the highest level of the power conference, you've been there, you know what it's like. How close is Arkansas? What else?
Well, we're a step closer today than we were yesterday. I really, I'm not saying when we're going to get to the top of the mountain, but I know we're going to get there. And I just, again, there's so many things. I was like a giddy little schoolgirl yesterday afternoon. I mean, I was just so excited about what I saw. I heard things at practice I'd never heard for a while, like just the intensity of the hits, the collisions, the ball disruption, the breaks on the balls defensively, offensively, the big plays that were being thrown and caught. Those things change games. We talk all the time about the 5 edges of Arkansas. 1, 2, and 3 have nothing to do with ability. First thing that we talk about is we're going to play, physically and mentally tougher than our opponent. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to play fast and through the whistle. The third thing that we're going to do is, just in the context of the game, we're going to, we're going to be smart. We're not going to turn the ball over. We're not going to, create any pre-snap penalties or post-snap penalties. We're going to be great with football IQ. All 3 of those things had nothing to do with ability. Now, number 4 for us is winning critical downs. So yesterday we worked 3rd down, 4th down, a little bit of high red zone. Tomorrow we'll put in low red zone and goal line. On Tuesday we'll put in coming out and sudden change. Those are critical downs that it comes down to execution, and our guys have so much more awareness of that now than ever before. It's just it's awesome to be a part of it. And then today we come in on a Sunday morning and we have this huge we talked about the scrimmage for an hour and a half, just let each coach talk about his position, and then I wanted to go a few things that I saw, and then we go through a depth chart, offense, defense, and we'll do special teams tomorrow. But to hear my coaches just take a lot of pride in the improvement of their players, and to know that their coaches love their play, they love seeing it. It's when there's that much emotion involved, usually good things happen. Michael Smith, I gave him a lot of pats on the back yesterday just because the wide receivers hadn't been great, for the first 2 days, and they were absolutely lights out yesterday. And I think it's contagious, and that's earned.
You really see yourself, like you talked about 1A, B, and C for the back. I was looking back when you had White, Clay, and Ball, and even then you didn't really give them all the same amount of carries. Ball, I think, didn't really get his first 20-carry game until the 4th to last game.
Right.
You plan on giving them all 15 carries?
And I appreciate what you're saying. That was a little different perspective. John Clay was going into his what he knew was going to be his last year. Monty Ball was the freshman player of the year before, and had gotten beat out by James White, who then that year was the freshman Big Ten player of the year. All 3 of them played in the NFL. These guys will it's a work in progress. I think they know that for us to have success, all 3 of them got to be really, really good. I think Jay Will is really good at certain things. Corliss Marshall is exceptional when you get him a little bit of space. And Alex probably has the most ability to just make something out of nothing, as far as, if it's plugged up, he can make a guy jump skip and do some unique things. So it's a little bit of their ability, but a lot of it's based on flow of game, what the coaches believe and see they can do every day.
The running back position, that you could have guys like Alex and Corliss come in the SEC as freshmen last year and perform that quickly. Did that surprise you at all?
Well, not really. Not once you're around him. I would say Corliss was a surprise just because, he was a very under-recruited player. We really liked him. I think if we had been here for the entire recruiting season, we would have acted a lot on him earlier. But, he was going to UCA, and nothing against, that's where he was headed. We got a hold of his film. I give a lot of credit to Barry Lunny. He kept bringing his film into me, and you could see he was a very exciting player on film, but didn't really show up until you got here. Then you realized what he could do with the ball in his hand. Alex, because I'd known him for a long time, I knew he was going to be a special player. But those 3 guys are are very gifted football players, and now they got some guys in front of them that know what they're doing. I think the fact that we have offensive and defensive line depth now is the most intriguing part of our program.
Collins has gone from 204 to 218. Last year, it kind of seemed like he was just shot out of the cannon.
Yeah.
He never really broke off a long home run. Is he going to be able to do that even with the increased weight?
Well, I think the weight, he actually looks better. He doesn't. His body. Alex showed up as a very genetically gifted young man. That I believe he got here the second summer session, so we really didn't get the full summer with him, and he kind of just came in as a very, very good high school player trying to play in the SEC, and you saw the results of it. I think now a year in our program. His lower body strength, just the thickness, he's very happy, I think, with the way his body looks. I know he was frustrated yesterday not getting to go, so I don't know if he went from a faster 40 time or not, but I think he's a more durable player.
You mentioned a lot on Ragnow's plate. Are you looking at anybody else at backup center?
Well, Sharp can do it. Sharp and TA, I'm sorry. And then we have put a ball in Tritola and Cameron Jeffrin's hands to see if they can do it. But I'm very excited about Mitch. He's a kid that has been looking for a spot, been looking for his home. Obviously, he's a highly recruited kid, and I really like the way he's playing. But Sharp and DA would probably be our best backup right now. But I think Frank Ragnow and his progress after 5 days was absolutely incredible, and I'm excited to see the next 3 or 4 weeks with him.
What can you do up front on both sides of the ball, you alluded to it a second ago, that's different from last year, that changes the way that you play?
Great question. I think the number one thing up front offensively is we can just get on the right guys and stay on them. I think that enables us to see the plays cleaner as a running back, allows you to call plays a little cleaner as a play caller, to have a certain idea and an expectation before you call the play that it's going to really happen is a very rewarding thing. And I'm not trying to be smart or sassy. It's just what we diagram and what we call and what we ask our kids to do is clearer now every day at practice than it's ever been, and I think that gets you very, very excited. Same thing up front on defense, and really overall on defense. There were so many examples defensively yesterday of fast, aggressive, physical football on the D-line linebackers and DBs that I could probably, with pretty much confidence, say that I saw more in one scrimmage yesterday than I saw an entire season a year ago. It just was night and day, and I think our offensive players would share that same sentiment.
What's your comfort level like with the overall talent level compared to last year, having 2 year classes?
I think recruiting can make a big difference, but player development's even bigger. Look at Bray Cook. In my opinion, when we got here, we're like, okay, love him, great kid. He has changed his body. You've seen the before and after things. His confidence level is off the charts. He's playing as good as I could ever perceive him to play, and every day he gets better. So that is truly player development. That's the resources that administration gives us, the strength coach that I have that lives behind us. That changes players once you get them here. But I think recruiting, obviously, for instance, our 3 linebackers, like I said, they just made an immediate impact in the linebacker room just because all of a sudden those guys are looking around, they're like, wow, this is what's going on now. And another player development, Carroll Washington, a kid that we recruited, they were recruiting him here, so he was already on our board. We went after him, and he came in as a 162-pound kid. Now he's a 195 best corner on our team, playing lights out. And excited to watch him grow. So I think, yes, we're better overall talent-wise, but it's still the lack of depth at certain positions. I think, I think Nate mentioned the center position is very scary. But I feel really good about everywhere else. We just got so much more depth at O-line that gives you. Now we're struggling about who we plug in with the ones and how much. But at tight end, we only have really true 4 tight ends. If one of those guys go down, that really changes the game for us. So at certain positions, we need to keep coming.
Coach, I know you've spoken about a new language being spoken amongst your team, so we can have a general conversation. Can you give us an example without divulging too much of Hawkinese, just maybe on an audible on offense or defense?
Yeah, I'll use the same one. Not that I'm comparing you to a room full of women, but I use the same example to the football 101 that we had on last Wednesday. We talked about Hawkinese and seemed to make a lot of sense to them, so I'm not insulting anybody here, I hope. But Hogganese is a verbiage, a language, a way of communicating in the Hog program that only we know. Football is very unique in the fact, I grew up in a junior high system and a high school system where I learned a junior high system, and then when I go to high school, it was a whole different verbiage and a different language, even though in theory we were running the same offense and defense. And I didn't know I was going to be a coach back then, but I thought at the time that makes no sense, Why don't they have the same language? Anyways, go on to college. I go to college. I have to learn a whole other set of language and verbiage unique to the University of Iowa. I teach, I breathe, I live that for my playing career, my coaching career, and then when Kirk Ferentz comes in, we change everything again, So even though we were doing a lot of the same things, we had to change the words and the terms and the language. I go to Kansas State, playing the same kind of football, ran the exact same type of defense, saying a totally different set of language. So it really became, as I got older in my profession, and made us understand it's not what we know as coaches, it's what our players know. We do this every day as a living. I go home and have a notepad by my bed because I might think of something at 1 a.m. when I wake up, and I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose that memory, but I choose this as a profession. Our kids get to come over for 20 hours a week, and we expect them to know it as much as we do. So the more we can simplify it. So an example, the word rose. What's the word rose mean? It's a flower, right? Most of you would probably say it's a flower. What color flower? Red. Everybody says red. As we all know, the flower can be red, white, yellow, whatever. There's all kinds of different color roses. It also can be in a woman's name, right? Everybody remember the woman named Rose? All right. So it can be one or the other. In our program, when we're doing an action or a bootleg action to our right, that's called Rose. The exact opposite of Rose is a nice woman named Lisa. Rose is red. It's right. However you want to say it. That means we're going to the right. The exact same thing. Rose is very good friends with Lisa, except for Lisa wants to go to the left. So instead of saying play action, hard sell to the right, bootleg left, we just say Lisa, and it gets all of those words to mean one thing. So that's just a little a snapshot of what Hogganese is. No one else would know that. I doubt if you walk up to anybody on the street and they talk about a rose, they're going to fake to their right and go to the left. If they had, they'd probably been in our class. But that's what Hogganese is in a nutshell. Now, if we can sell that, tell Auburn that'd be awesome.
Can I turn you a little different direction and
Turn me any way you want to
go? You thought of the decision with the coalition, the autonomy with the Big Five conference, the Power Five, and how working under rules of autonomy like that might affect a school like Arkansas?
Yeah, it obviously sets a whole other bar. It sets a whole other level of what you're able to do. What we can do here at Arkansas compared to other places, and not just within our conference, but, we compete all the time against schools in the Big 12 just because of our location. A simple thing like our training table. We have a training table up there on a daily basis, but now Ben Herbert and his resource, what he can do now without having limitations on what we can provide really from a food standpoint is big. I'd constantly just look for ideas and thoughts, and I saw where there was an article about a team in the Big 12 that was going to have a food truck pull up, which is very interesting. It's because they didn't have the facility. So everybody's going to find a new way to do things. It is a little bit of an arms race, and I'm hopefully as price conscientious as anybody else. But sometimes those things come with a price tag, and also recruiting. It's just going to be a matter of time before teams are going to try to sell the advantage that they may have just because of the resources they have, and it makes me understand as a football coach, if I want certain things, I got to win games and put people in the stands and be able to produce revenue so we can do those things.
What's to stop a kid from signing multiple financial aid agreements?
Great question. Yeah. Question is, what keeps a kid from signing multiple financial aid agreements like we've done with Ty Story and Zach Rogers? First, there is nothing. Right now, a young man in college, in high school, can sign as many financial aid offers as he wants to. We did it last year with a couple young men. 3 of them came here, 1 didn't, and we had to serve a penalty because of that. So if you sign a kid to a financial aid agreement and he does not come, we are going to be penalized by NCAA rules. So the fact of the matter is, I think the the type of young men that we go after and recruit, and in particular, if we sign someone to an binding agreement like that, we make sure that they're 100% in our boat. What it allows you to do is now I can freely comment about Ty. I can freely comment about Zach. There's no restrictions on our communication with them, where that isn't the case with every kid that's in their recruiting class. But I've only done it and will only do it with players that I know that being a Hog is part of their DNA. I do not believe that, and no matter what our record is this year, that Ty Stoyer or Zach Rogers are going to go anywhere else. If they do, then I've hurt our program, in a way. Well, it's kind of a change. Last year, I wasn't able to have a scholarship, but they lifted it at the 24th hour and allowed us a little bit of levity. What would happen now is if the dates don't coincide, I could lose an initial scholarship, which means you wouldn't be able to give it to a kid that was signing here for the first time. But I really feel strongly about those two kids, and if we do it with anybody else in the future.
Coach, with Auburn being the first game, other years you start with a lesser school where it's an easier, road to victory. Give me your pros and cons as a coach, a coaching staff, of starting with an easier game or starting with somebody this difficult.
I think it's a great question, and obviously on the minds of a lot of people. I just don't look at it that way, and I can't allow our team to look at it that way. We're going to take every team as an opportunity to get better. We're going to want to win it. We're going to do everything in our powers to win it. And I get it. I understand there's a difference between Auburn and Nicholls State, which is coming up right after it. But we're not going to do anything different in our lack of preparation or amount of preparation, regardless of how they're ranked. I like this one just because I think it allows us to have the unique opportunity at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, which probably no one had envisioned when they made the schedule, that we're going to start the season and end the season with the two teams that played in the SEC championship game a year ago. I think we're going to have a great understanding where we are within this conference at the end of the year by the outcome of those two games.
JoJo Robinson earlier. I haven't heard a lot of him this preseason camp.
What we're going to do is we're going to put him right behind Jared Cornelius. We're going to rep him this week, and if it doesn't look like he can help us, then we'll definitely redshirt him. But him and Kendrick Edwards, we're going to see what they can do and help us in that department. The inside slot where Jared plays and where we're going to put JoJo, you like a guy with a little bit of shake and bake to him, and we think those guys give us the best opportunity. Is that it? That's what you're talking about?
Legality issues and all that coming.
Well, yeah, oh yeah, that stuff. Well, I know a lot of you spent some time in Miami, but I doubt you've been where JoJo's been. I think just being down there and recruiting the last 15 years of my life, and recruiting a lot of kids from that environment, it's such a different world. I think the reason JoJo was able to shake clean of it is because he was clean. I'm sure that he was a great learning experience for him. I think one of the great things about being here in Northwest Arkansas is when a kid from Miami or from that South Florida area, when they come here, they just absolutely fall in love with no sirens. The issues and the things that they go through on a daily basis aren't as around them as much. I mean, Denver Kirkland loves it here. I mean, I think he just fell in love with it, and now he's spreading the word. And all those kids that we've gotten from down there are really fitting into their lifestyle up here pretty well.
Impact can the new defensive coaches and Coach Smith really have on the team as far as bringing that identity in 1 year?
100%. I think a huge impact. I am so. I grabbed my coaches yesterday. It sounds like a little thing. I call it a little surprise staff meeting. I brought them in all in at 2:30. We weren't going to meet until after they had met with their players. But I really wanted them to know that the changes that I saw in that film and in that stadium didn't just happen by chance. I know our players did it, and we sell that on a daily basis, but our coaches made that happen. People that were at the scrimmage that I respect, not that I don't respect all you guys, but like some coaches that were there that have watched us grow and develop and talked about, hey, that even from last spring to where you are now, that's a different unit out there. And I think a lot of it has been on defense. I think the continuity of offensively keeping the coaches and a lot of the same players has helped us a lot. But the dramatic confidence and swagger that our defense showed and the ability to create some disruption in the ball was immediate. And kind of like when I made reference to hearing my coaches talk about our players and the way they genuinely care about them, that goes a long, long way.
What was it about Taiwan that caused you to move him up? And he's listed 255 on off. Is that accurate?
I think he might be a little heavier than that now. He took Denver Kirkland, who I think is an extremely efficient pass blocker, and took him on a bull rush to the pocket last night or yesterday afternoon. It was, I think everybody was shocked. And Taiwan's one of those kids since we've been here has just slowly gotten better. He goes extremely hard. That scheme that we like to run and some of the things we ask that nose to do with the quickness that he has and the ability to change direction, I think could be a tremendous asset. I also wanted to get a chance to look at DeMarcus Square at the 3 technique because he did some good things there for us last year at the nose position when he was playing square. So a little bit of a combination of everything, but I'm very excited to see Taiwan this week.
Taiwan is leverage, the way he plays low.
I'd say a little bit of leverage. In addition to, he's extremely efficient with his hands, and he's fast. He moves very, very efficiently and very quickly. And I think when you're playing someone like that over the ball and give that center a little bit of that nightmare effect of this guy's going to be all over you and every play and every way, that can disrupt an offense as much as anything. So excited to watch him. Do I think we're better than we? I think, yeah, that'd be a fair statement. Nothing. I mean, I'd love to have Robert Thomas and all those guys, and Chris back. But I think our linebackers are going to affect D-line play. I think our DBs make a better D-line play. You know what I mean? It all kind of all feeds and washes the same hands.